Congress does not dole out money. Congress may appropriate money, but it's up to the administrative agencies, the executive branch, to dole it out. We do not dole out money. So that's part of
Congressman,
the problem.
all of the earmarks that you attach to stuff.
There's nothing wrong with earmarks, sir.
Yes, there is.
MRAP. Look here.
Okay, wait a minute. Do you think I in Richmond should pay for your First Tee program in South Carolina? And do you think South Carolinians in Sumter should pay for things in Alaska?
Once again, that was a bald-faced lie that you all printed. There's never been one dime spent on the First Tee project in South Carolina.
I was just using that as an example. Do you think the people of South Carolina...
Why would you use that as an example? It's simply because you are buying into a lie that was spread around this country by some people who did not tell us the truth.
Okay,
what I did was I fund programs for First Tee on military bases so that the people whose children are left back here when they go off to Afghanistan and Iraq can have this kind of program for their children. We have now put that program on 191 bases in foreign countries, and now the Department of Defense has now said this is a great idea. Thanks for doing it. We're going to give these people a 2-year contract to do it.
Well, let's take your I'll take your earmarks out of it. Do you think the people in Sumter, South Carolina, should have to pay for things in Alaska or in Richmond, Virginia? I don't think they should. I don't think it's the federal government's responsibility to take all of our money and then redistribute it out to everywhere else.
Well, I think that it all depends on what the common good is. I do believe that we are our brother's keeper.
And that's the reason spending is out of control in Congress. Congress, I don't think you get it. Do you understand the number of calls you've gotten? Do you know the number of calls? People are ready with pitchforks and torches to come to Washington because they are so fed up with spending. Your spending has caused part of this trouble.
Oh, come on. Now, you can yell as loud as you want to. There's nowhere in the world I'm going to be intimidated by that.
I'm not trying to intimidate you. I'm frustrated because you're not getting it. You're not getting that Congress is spending like crazy. You're omitting that as part of the equation.
Congress does not spend money. Congress does not spend money.
Congress is appropriating money like crazy. Is that better?
We do appropriate money.
Money like crazy.
Right. Now you're getting it right.
Well, let's argue semantics here, Congressman. Money. The fact is, you're peeling off dough at a record rate. Meanwhile, our national debt is nearing $10 trillion, and Congress keeps opening the purse, don't they?
Who decide to try to fight a war, 2 wars, and not pay for it. Never in the history of this country.
Yes, he is responsible as well, Congressman. You wouldn't know this.
Not as well. I voted against going into Iraq.
Congressman, you wouldn't know this because you're not from Richmond. I do not approve of the president's spending. I don't approve of it. So you're right on some of that. I'm giving it to you. But I'm not pointing fingers just at you and just at the Democrats. I'm pointing fingers at Congress as a whole and the president. Both branches of our government are out of control with spending and creating more and more government. And you're not truly in touch with the average American person that you think on Main Street you're trying to help. You're not if you continue to spend this way.
Well, I beg to differ with you, and I think that if you were to consult with the people in my congressional district, they will tell you they're very pleased with the fact that I'm very much in touch with them. And that's why I support this legislation, because I know this legislation is good for Main Street, Broad Street, Walker Avenue, all those streets that I grew up on over in Sumter, South Carolina. It's also good for the people in Richmond, Virginia, and other places throughout Virginia. The fact of the matter is, we are not trying to bail out Wall Street. We are trying to stabilize Wall Street so that Main Street and Broad Street and Walker Street can have its citizens living a better quality of life, can have their children educated, not worried about whether or not they can get their student loans renewed come January, not worried about whether or not the grocery stores will be able to stock their shelves next weekend, not worried about whether or not the automobiles dealership will stay open. That's what we're trying to do here. We are trying to show up the credit markets in this country, and we are providing oversight in doing so.
Where is the prevention? Where is the prevention with it? Where is the next prevention attached to this bill?
If you were to read the bill, all 206 pages of it, as I have, and as I helped to write, you will see the safeguards there. We have gotten rid of golden parachutes. We have reined in executive spending. The big problem that I don't hear you talking about is for one guy up there the other day to be on a job in 3 weeks and get a $31 million golden parachute that we just had rescinded. That's the kind of stuff they've been doing, and we're reining all that in. We had that $31 million rescinded. That he was only on the job for 3 weeks.
Shouldn't that be up to the people who buy the stock in that company or use that company's products?
Well, there you go again.
Shouldn't it be up to them?
Again.
It's funny how you're really good at, Congressman,
look,
it's funny how you're really good at reeling in everyone else's pay, and yet you're willing to go ahead and spend like crazy. I don't hear any Congress people saying they're going to go ahead and take a cut. How come Congress doesn't take a 10% cut?
Well, why should we?
Yeah, exactly, because you're spending like crazy. You're out of touch. You make $170,000 a year, is that right?
No, sir.
How much do you make?
Right,
how much is it? How much is it?
I have no idea. My wife would tell you, but I know.
You don't know how much you make, and you're in charge of money? You're on the Appropriations Committee, and you don't know how much a salary you make?
No, it's direct deposit, so it'll be there for my wife to spend.
Yeah, but you should still know as a congressperson what you're spending for other congresspeople.
$170,000.
It's close to that. It's between $150 and $170. I know that.
Now you're right.
Okay, $150,000 a year when the average American makes in the 30s. And you don't think that's excessive? How come Congress isn't saying during these tough economic times when you're trying to float a $700 billion bill we'll all take a 10% cut?
I have no idea what you make, but a lot of people would think it might be excessive.
No, the whole point is, Congressman, if you're telling us we need to spend $70 billion and you're not willing to take a 10% cut from your $150,000+ a year salary?
I'll take as much of a cut as you're willing to take.
All right, you know what? I'll take a 10% cut. You willing to do it?
All right,
you get Congress to do it, and I will take a 10% cut.
Tell your company to set you up for a 10% cut.
You know the other thing, Congressman? Yeah. I'm not also telling people that I want to spend $700 billion of their money.
Yeah, you just said that it's okay for the executive on the job 3 weeks to take a $31 million parachute.
It's funny. It's funny how you're all quick with the money and you're offended by somebody else making money.
I'm not offended.
You think it's wrong?
No. I'm just telling you my impression about it. Look,
you told me you were going to stop executive pay like that because you think that's the problem. You were hanging your hat on it. You were very proud of that.
So that's the problem. You're probably upset because you don't offend me. I really don't. You amuse me a little bit, but I'm not offended at all. I don't get offended, and I'm the hardest guy in the world to be intimidated. So,
Congressman, why do you think I'm intimidating you? I just don't think you understand people's frustration. You're amused at my frustration because Americans don't want to spend $700 billion, and I think you've shown yourself pretty well here that Congress is truly out of touch. You're an elitist like the rest of Congress and people who make it to the president's office. You are elitist who think you can spend and do whatever you want.
Well, sir, let me tell you something. Anybody who grew up with the experiences I grew up with, it would be impossible to be an elitist.
Oh, it's impossible. Yeah, you can. You're right. Never can a person, as long as you were poor when you were little, reach the level of elitist. Congressman, you are so far out of touch, and you've proven it today by saying you're amused at mine and every other American's frustration.
You do amuse me.
Exactly. You're amused at my frustration.
No, I'm amused at your rhetoric.
It's rhetoric. It's not frustration. It's rhetoric, Congressman.
It's your rhetoric.
Congressman, you are completely out of touch. Go ahead and pass that bill. Be looking for the petition that I am circulating. Be looking for the petition that I am circulating that is calling for all of you to get kicked out in 5 weeks. Now, you probably have no fear because you're not going to be in a tight race. But there's a lot of your a lot of your coworkers there, a lot of your compadres that are going to lose their jobs.
May I remind you of one thing before you hang up?
Sure.
Let me remind you that I sat here waiting for you to come online while your commercials were being played. Mm-hmm. Now, when the credit freezes up and those people who are buying commercials on your station are not selling products and they can't buy commercials, then we may not have to worry about it. Your cut may be deeper than 10%. Because if we don't keep credit going, if we don't keep people employed, if we don't selling products, people are not going to be buying commercials on your radio station.
That's a very good point.
You're not going to have a job.
That's a very good point, Congressman. The other thing is, if America collapses completely, you're going to be out of a job as well.
And that's what we're trying to do, keep this country from collapsing.
Not me, Congressman. I want it to go down. If in order to get all of you bums kicked out, if it takes collapsing America, I'm ready for it. Thanks for the call, Congressman.
I want you to stay there so you can keep amusing me.